This is a Nakamichi ZX-9. It's a kind of a rare tape deck, and today I wanted to go ahead and replace the capacitors for the power supply. You know, this machine's probably, I don't know, 30 some years old, and the electrolytic capacitors in the power supply do age, and basically they have quite a bit of leakage, and anyway, it causes or can cause a lot of power supply instability. Just printed this out, and then I circled all the places on the power supply board that I'm going capacitors that I'm going to replace. And these are all the parts that correspond to each one of those red circles on the schematic. So I can actually look and see where each capacitor is located. I think the easiest way to tackle this is to replace one cap at a time. So I'll desolder the cap, the existing cap. I'll pull that capacitor out, and then I'll go ahead and put the next one in. But I'll make note of what the polarity is on the cap that I take out. You can't always depend on the schematic, and well, you can depend on the schematic, but you can't depend on the Nakamichi board layouts, because I've run into a few times where they had it backwards on the board layout. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy apart. So I'll just go ahead and remove the bottom cover. I really like this magnetic thing that holds these screws down. It's nice and keeps them all together. So, and as you can see, it's got you can write on it with magic marker and mark what's on there, but I don't know. And now I just put them in the squares and try to remember where I got them. Kind of nice on the Nakamichis. They have toward the back, it has slotted screw holes, so you can just lift this off. It's easy. You can just leave the screws in that back portion. We can see this is the power supply board right here. Looks like, just as we're looking at it, it's like this. See that notch right there where the power regulators are located? Those are the bigger transistors that hook into the heatsink. And then you can kind of see that this is following the pattern that I have on here. So, and of course, yeah, make sure and unplug this thing before you start touching around in here. There's obviously high voltage there. I think I'll probably have to tip this. So, anyway, the deck on there. Let's go ahead and get reoriented again. So this is the power supply board. This is the top view of it. So So you can see there's a big group of capacitors right there. It's kind of, it's interesting, the changes in technology, but you can see these capacitors, which are basically these guys. I mean, they're quite a bit smaller nowadays. So, and these are all rated at 25 volts. Yeah, Nakamichi does a good job of bundling all this stuff up. There's a wire tie around this, and you can see there's some lacquer, red lacquer right there to kind of hold them all together, probably for shipping and so forth. So, I think what I'm going to do is cut that wire tie first. And I'm not going to be able to put, they had these grouped together on the board with that. They did a double wire tie around them, but I'm not going to do that when I put it back. Yeah, for the desoldering operations, desoldering those caps. I used to use a lot of solder wick and a soldering iron, and I tried, those solder suckers, and I tried the spring-loaded suction, for soldering, desoldering. But they're all they're difficult to use at best, and they sometimes can damage the pads on the circuit board. So anyway, a while back I made the investment in one of these Hakko desoldering tools. It kind of looks like a gun, but it's really neat. It has suction when you pull the trigger, and this aperture has just a small hole in there, and when you hit the button, a motor will run, and it sucks the solder through this tube and puts it into this little clear capsule. So you can just empty it out. I actually have a bag that I started so I can make sure and dispose of that properly. I'm going to go and plug this guy in. It doesn't take too long. I think we'll probably just start with these big guys. Many times too, I'm going to do that right now actually. I'm going to take a photo of that with my phone, so when it comes time to put it back together, I can reference that. So remember, like I was telling you, here's the negative stripes on the capacitors. I want to make sure and get them right back in exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and take a photo. Good. Here's the cool Hacko 630, or no, this is a 808. Yeah, Hacko 808. So anyway, when you pull the trigger, you can hear it. And the other thing too is I got to get a wet towel. I like to keep the tip clean so that when you contact the solder joint, it will automatically give you a nice clean desolder. Okie doke. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll do this big fella. Here. There we go. The next lead. That is beautiful. Gosh. So all I have to do is just take it out. So I'm kind of making note here. I took it out like this. Yep. So let's put that over there. Do the next big one. And that's kind of giving me some space to get to some of these other ones, like this C409. I think I'll. Oops. Uh-oh. Could be time for me to clean this thing out. I haven't done that for a while. I pulled all the caps. I put in all of the new ones. And here's all. These are the old ones right here, as you can see. And what I did is I put them all in and kind of bent their leads to hold them into the board. And then I laid the tape deck down basically on its top. So we're looking at the bottom. And I've gone through and soldered probably about half the capacitors as of now. Keep the tip of your soldering iron clean, and shiny like that. And some of these pads take a little while to heat up. So you can see this one. I'm moving the iron around just a little bit. You definitely want to heat it up and liquefy the solder. So that's just about the right amount of heat. I'm using a Hacko temperature controlled soldering iron. I have it set to about it's just about 750. But notice how they have kind of a bright, shiny look to them. And that's basically what you want. You want that shiny look. If they look kind of dull, actually you can kind of see some of the Nakamichi solder joints. That solder looks a little on the dull side. But that you're looking for that shiny solder joint is what you're looking for. Yeah, I think that's it. So, job done. Then what I do is I go through and I use a pair of flush cutting, nippers or diagonals, whatever you want to call them. But make sure and hold on to the lead and, just pop it off. Make sure you account for all of these. You don't want anything shorting, internally in the chassis by, if you drop it or something, you want to make sure and find every one of these. So. that kind of passed my hand. Okay, there's no more leads. We can look at the other side, though. We can see all those new caps that are in there. Get some light, but yeah, you can see these are all the new ones here. We'll put in. So, yep, I know it doesn't. There's actually 10 in there. They're kind of hard to see. There's some that are tucked way down inside. Yeah, we can kind of see them in there. And some underneath the motor control board. And yeah, there. So anyway, that's it for the power supply.